Another Friday afternoon kickoff north of the border as Toronto FC 2 hosts Forward Madison in the second and final meeting of their season series. BMO Training Ground in Toronto, Ontario is the site. Joe Malfa on hand for this one, and you picked a great way to kick off your weekend here on ESPN+. Big-time playoff implications in this one as we take a look at the USL League One standings. Teams are beginning to separate ever so slightly, but things are still tight enough to allow Toronto to rise from 11th to 6th with a win today. Madison, on the other hand, occupies that final playoff spot. A loss, they would dip back below the line. A win, and they go as high as 4th place to enter the weekend of play. These teams met back on August the 18th, and the first time they played, it was one of the more dramatic, entertaining games of the season. It ended again in a 2-2 draw. Aaron Malloy got things going early, 11th minute goal for Madison, in a game where Toronto came out surprised at the way Madison tactically played it, forced Toronto to switch it to a 3-5-2, which they're actually going to start with today. And after they made that switch, they got the goal from Julian Altobelli. Madison went ahead and responded just out of the half in the 51st minute, but late on, 86th minute, Kobe Franklin silenced the Bree Stevens crowd and earned a point for Toronto FC in that 2-2 draw. Now, Garrett McLaughlin is the player that Toronto will look to turn to today to help things offensively. In 3 games on this field, they only have 1 goal from the run of play, a pair of 0-0 draws, and an own goal scored by Richmond. McLaughlin hasn't found the back of the net in a while, and Mike Munoz wants him to find space, get in behind, and help lead the charge from the front for Toronto. They need him to step back up and find the form he had early in the season. On the flip side for Forward Madison, it is a skeleton crew traveling north of the border. It's been that way for visiting teams so far this year due to local restrictions. Suko is going to come in and have a lot of attacking options based on who they have available. It's a very attacking-minded lineup here today for Carl Craig. And for a guy who's tied for the team lead in assists, he's going to have his pick of the litter of who he wants to distribute to as this team comes on the road and looks for a big 3 points. Today marks the beginning of a stretch of 5 home matches in the final 7 for Toronto, while 6 of Madison's final 9 come on the road. For a pair of teams separated by just 2 points in the standings, today will set the tone for the final playoff push. It's Toronto and Madison kicking off after the break. Back at BMO Training Ground as the players and officials make their way out onto the field for a big one here between Toronto and Madison. Again, Toronto comes in 11th place and Madison in 6th, but only 2 points separate these two teams here in the playoff push. We take a look at the starting lineups for both clubs, beginning with the home side, Toronto. They go into that 3-5-2, as I mentioned earlier. and it's all the true League One players. No MLS help, and that's something that Mike Munoz is very happy about. This is the group that has the best chemistry, and they really want this group clicking on all cylinders in the final month and a half of the season as they try to get their second home win, true home win of the season, after having some wins, of course, in Arizona and Orlando before they made their way back home to Canada. On the flip side for forward Madison, 14 players available today who are able to travel. Ryan Zerakowski, the man to watch up top. In the 3 games he's played since joining from New England Revolution 2, he has himself a pair of goals. And, of course, Connor Tobin, they're going to need his leadership today on that back line to try and earn a point or 3 on the road. It'll be Madison from right to left in the white, Toronto from left to right in the red, and we're underway here in Toronto. Aubrey Kotelko in charge of this one. On that note of having all of the League One players in, just with the MLS schedule right now, it didn't make sense for some players to drop down from the MLS side. And for Mike Munoz, these are the guys who were with them the whole way, from Arizona to Orlando, back north. And these are the guys he truly wants out there in crunch time now in the final month of the season. He didn't mean any disrespect to the players who have come down from the MLS side, who have helped out. Some of the guys who have joined have scored some big goals at big times, the likes of a Jaden Nelson, who's really helped out with 3 goals. And beyond that, a Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, who's come in with a goal and an assist. They've helped out, but there is something to be said about messing with the team chemistry in those cases. You come in and, of course, you've got the MLS side on your mind, and now all of a sudden you have to try and flip the switch to go from a team that right now is not in a playoff race in MLS to a team that is in a playoff race in League One. And it's 2 different mindsets, so not necessarily a bad thing that there is no MLS help in the lineup for this Toronto squad. A very capable squad in and of itself with a very talented League One side. All these players here signed to the second team. Madison dealing with what Richmond and Greenville and Chattanooga have had to deal with so far. Based on the local ordinances, a lot of players have to be left behind in Wisconsin. 14 players in all have made the trip, and some big ones missing today for this Madison squad as the foul is committed against against Campbell. The list of names missing: Jiro Barriga Toyama has played nearly every game this season. Audie Jepson not there. Jake Keegan not there, the leading scorer for the squad. Aaron Malloy, the reigning player of the month in USL League One, not there. Josiah Trimmingham not there. Christian Diaz not there. The list goes on and on. All of those players I mentioned are either starters or players who play rather big minutes off the bench or spot starts here and there. Here is Petrasso. Plays it into space. Carlini on the overlap, and he can't keep it in. Those other teams I mentioned, Greenville and Chattanooga and Richmond, they came in with the mindset of just defending, looking for the point when they come on the road, given the limited resources they had. Madison isn't really in a position where they can do the same. Carl Craig said, look, I have what I have, and we're going to have to come out and try to win this game, knowing the way the playoff race is right now. Ties don't do you a lot of good. You're going to need 3 points at a time, even if it means leaving yourself vulnerable at the back and taking an extra loss. At the end of the day, sure, a point is nice in a draw, but the difference between 1 point or 0 in a given day, it's not as valuable as risking it all for the 3. Altabelli tracking back. When these teams last met, Toronto, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, struggled early on as Madison came out in a 3-5-2, which they hadn't played all season long, and surprised them as Tyler Allen commits the foul on the flank. Toronto usually relishes the fact that, given they have so many players they can use, and given the fact that they have shown multiple looks and playing styles all season, they usually get the first 20 minutes free because the opposition has to adjust to whatever Toronto is throwing at them on that given day. The last time they played Madison, the roles were reversed. Madison was the one who had a free 20 minutes in that game, and they cashed in with that goal in the 11th minute from Malloy. this time around, Toronto much more prepared. Mike Munoz said this time they would not have that same first 20 minutes of a struggle and be ready tactically and be the aggressors in this one. Eric Leonard forced to slide onto the back line today for Madison in their 3-5-2. So it's 3-5-2 versus 3-5-2, and in chatting with both coaches, when you have a matchup like that, it's going to come down to which side can control the midfield and which side's wingbacks can pin the opposition wingbacks further back in their own half. And Petrasso and Franklin at left wingback and right wingback respectively for Toronto are two of the more dangerous wingbacks in the league, so you have to imagine that the wingback battle favors Toronto. The midfield battle, on the other hand, would favor Madison. Christian Enriquez, Jesus Perez, and Justin Succo. A strong middle three, not the strongest it could be, of course, with Malloy missing for Madison. But the weak link all season long for Toronto has been the central midfield. Here's Enriquez. Sends one out for Eric Leonard. Direct ball in, looking for Noah Fuson. Taken down was Allen. Fuson comes away with it, has a strike. Fuson into the hands of Caleb Patterson-Sewell. With the lineups that Greenville, Chattanooga, and Richmond trotted out, you could tell they were playing for a draw on the road against Toronto. Can't say the same for Madison. The players the Mingos have out there, they are going out for a victory today. Fuson, Allen, Gebhard, Succo, and Zerakowski all listed as forwards. There's 5 forwards out there for Madison. They're just converting Allen and Gebhard into wingbacks for the day. So a very attacking-minded lineup for the visitors. Last time they met, again, Madison slightly had the edge in the possession battle. That's not something that Toronto's had to deal with all season long. They're usually the team controlling the tempo, controlling the ball. And in that game, 17 shots, 9 on target for Madison. 9 shots, 2 on target for Toronto, but they were efficient. Both of their shots on target ended up in the target as they drew 2-2. Rad out wide for Allen. Back for Cyrus Rad, making his 4th start of the season. Joined the club late. Played every minute of his first 3 starts out of NC State. Tobin looking for Zerakowski, couldn't get it there. Petrasso through the middle. Took 1 touch too many. Now it's Yates. Alan Maples. You hear the coaches saying around the back for Toronto, and they swing it that way. Now around for Kurich and Petrasso. Up for McLaughlin, nice flick inside. It's Carlini. Allen. Inside, Fuson, back out for Allen. Offering support is Succo. Allen uses the help. Rad. Back out for Allen. Open inside, Enriquez calling for it. Now it's Succo. Perez. He's taken down. Free kick coming for Madison. Taken quickly. Chance here for Enriquez. Toronto does well to deal with it. And Altabelli will slow it down. Shouts of out on the far side, but it just did stay in, according to the officials. Carlini wins it from Gebhard, and now it's out. The message from Carl Craig to the club this week was a quirky one, but it got the message across, and it was remember the Alamo. Nobody remembers who won or lost that battle of history, but what they remember and appreciate is the fight, and that's what they celebrate, and that's what he wanted this club to take on, that mindset of the fight here on the road with just 14 guys against the odds. He wants them to fight. Obviously, he would like to be on the victorious side, but he just wants to see them give it their all. It's a very tough challenge here in this chapter of the season. One they'll be better for ultimately. One they can look back on and tell stories about. Maple sends it away, and the flag was up for offside. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. Select is the official ball supplier of USL League One and many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit www.selectsportamerica.com. Knotted down by McLaughlin. Altobelli turns, finds space. Carlini threaded through. Breaking down a low block has given Toronto some struggles as the teams have sat deep against them. They want to score early, which would force the opposition out of their shape, create some more space in behind. Getting one, like Munoz believes, could lead to 2 or 3 in a game, but the hardest thing has been getting the first. Clipped inside towards McLaughlin. It's knotted away before it gets there by Cyrus Rad. A corner coming now for Toronto. Good ball in from Anthony Kurich. McLaughlin was waiting for it. Each of the last couple of games, Toronto hasn't even had a chance to score first because they'd conceded so quickly. Just a few minutes in against Omaha last time and twice in the first 10 minutes against Greenville, both losses. This corner swung in and headed away by Tobin. Out for Franklin. Carlini. Petrasso looking back for Carlini, and Allen sends it out for another throw. A dozen minutes into this one. Joe Malva here with you at BMO Training Ground. Second meeting of the season between Toronto and Madison, a 2-2 draw last time. Toronto enters in 11th. Madison enters in 6th, just above the playoff line, but a win for Toronto, and they would supplant Madison in 6th and drop the visitors below the playoff line. Give it away to Campbell. Now McLaughlin. See if they can counter quickly after the takeaway. And that one just ricochets off of Carlini's shin. The tackle put in by the back-tracking Justin Suko. After Madison's last result, the 1-0 win over the Richmond Kickers, a light went on for them. Psychologically, they were down in the dumps a little bit. Carl Craig joked it made him physically sick to see them down as low as 11th place at one point, but again, a testament to the parity this year. From a team that was down in 11th, all it took was that one win. They were back above the playoff line, and he said that was a big weight off their shoulders. Just visually, psychologically, it's nice to see your squad above that line. They know they had 2 games in hand over most teams, but even so, you just want to have those points in hand. And if you can have the points in hand and the games in hand, as they do right now, sitting in 6th with 2 games in hand on some of the teams above and below them, they're in a pretty good spot. Inside, Altobelli strike! And it's just wide. Toronto doing a good job of finding some of the soft spots in space against Madison. Tobin, you don't see that often from him, lunging in, giving Altobelli a chance to cut in and shoot. Two clubs battling over the Atlantic Division's final playoff spot takes center stage when the USL on ESPN continues. Charlotte Independence travels north to Dillon Stadium to take on Hartford Athletic on Thursday, September 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Deportes. Suko back for Gebhard. Toronto controlling territory now, keeping Madison in their defensive third, forcing the turnover. Already see, though, 15 minutes in, how much Madison is missing Aaron Malloy in the middle of the midfield. I noted that the midfield advantage, you would imagine, would favor Madison here. But without Malloy, players have to shift into different roles for Madison. So far, they're struggling to do so. Franklin feeds it all the way back to Politz, the captain. Politz is usually the oldest player in the starting lineup for Toronto, but not when the 34-year-old Caleb Patterson-Sewell, who doubles as the goalkeeper coach, is in there. Dangerous ball across. Petrasso nearly saved it on the line, but Kobe Franklin, more positivity from the right wing back. He's the one who broke Madison's hearts with the late goal the first time these teams met. Madison last in the league in terms of goals scored with 22. Third in the league with goals against at 22 as well. The team with 9 draws. And it's interesting to hear Carl Craig talk about draws the way he did as the foul is drawn by Noah Fuson. To his point that draws don't really do them any good anymore. It's those draws that they've picked up along the way that currently have them above the playoff line. 9 big points looking back on it now with those 9 draws. Foul goes against Talon Maples. Last free kick Madison had, they took it quickly, and Toronto dealt with it. They take it quickly again here. Leonard. Tobin takes his space, finds the feet of Enriquez, pressing in. Yates trying to play out of the danger as Fuson was defending, and Campbell's able to clear. Continuing his carry across midfield, now finding Altobelli. Up for McLaughlin. Team's leader with 8 goals, hasn't scored though since late spring. McLaughlin did a lot of his damage when the team was in Arizona and in Florida. Hasn't been the same since they've come north to Toronto. Carlini forced back to Curich. Carlini inside, finds Maples in space. The big center back. Is it out wide for Franklin? Cross in from Kobe Franklin towards the back post. And it's kept in. Laid back. Miscommunication there. Yates never stepped into it. Allen down the wing. Harassed by Franklin. Inside Fuson. Now Suko. That bounce almost went Suko's way as he tried to get through 3 defenders. Rad keeps it alive. Turning into space, Perez, good ball over the top. The flag stays down. Zerakowski saved by Patterson Sewell. Zerakowski has 2 goals in 3 games for Madison, and he had a chance there. You almost wonder if he was surprised that the flag stayed down. He didn't look ready for it. And Petrasso just clears it out for a throw. That would have been something for Madison with the resources they have to come in and steal the goal on the road. Put them on the front foot. Great ball in from Perez. Zerakowski just couldn't slide it by on his weaker foot. 9th start of the season for Caleb Patterson Sewell. He's only given up 9 goals so far. He's been invaluable for this Toronto squad with his leadership, not only among the rest of the young goalkeepers, especially Andreas Weikla, who's really stepped up, but his leadership for the rest of the team. I mentioned before that Kevin Politz is usually the oldest player in the starting lineup at 25, which is saying something. A team littered with young 20-year-olds and some teenagers as well. Patterson Sewell has really shown them all how to be pros and go about their business. Well shielded by Franklin out for a goal kick. Part of that for Patterson Sewell and this young team is just acclimating to Toronto. A lot of these players had never been to the city before. Started the season in Arizona, then went to Orlando. So it could be intimidating, not just a new city, but a new country. They've acclimated well. They've been able to take in some Blue Jays games and enjoy some time together. And as they've grown in their comfort level overall with their situation, it's matriculating out onto the field in terms of the chemistry with each other. That's why Mike Munoz believes now, with 5 of the last 7 games at home in Toronto, they can really make a special run. A team that has been nomadic all season long in Arizona, in Orlando. A schedule front-loaded with road games, and a schedule where all of your early home games were essentially all road games. Now to have 5 of 7 down the stretch when it counts the most and not have to really leave much at all. After this game, Toronto will go on the road to Richmond, then they're home for 2 more. Then they're on the road against Chattanooga, and then they end with 2 more at home. Sets up really nicely. On the flip side, Carl Craig's Madison side knows they need to take points in this game if they can, a team they feel they match up well against, and in the next one at home against Greenville, because October will not be kind to Madison in terms of the schedule. They have a very condensed 7-game month of October, and the first 5 are on the road. Here's Zerakowski cutting in. Referee gets in the way, but he allows play to continue because it didn't really impact things too much. He's in the way again, trying to find some safety. And Allen commits the foul. There's a bright side, though, in the schedule for Madison. It's that their final 2 games are at home, so once they know what the situation is, how many points they may need to secure a playoff spot, they'll be doing it in front of what I would imagine would be 2 very raucous crowds at Breeze Stevens against Tucson and against Chattanooga. For Madison, it's a matter of getting to the magic number of 2 goals in a game, Carl Craig said. A team, as I mentioned, that has struggled this year scoring goals with just 22 overall. So often, he's found this club scoring 1 but not being able to put away the second. And it's that second that really obviously forces other teams to change their tactics, open up, and helps you secure 3 points at a time rather than 1 point at a time. They got to that magic number of 2 the last time these teams met, but Toronto responded in the 86th minute to tie it. And getting the 2 goals, it's easier said than done in a specific game, because at this stage of the season, teams have met each other multiple times. Some teams playing for a 3rd and 4th time down the stretch. So every game is a chess match. You've not seen anything the other team hasn't done already. You know what to do with it, how to handle it, and they know how to handle you. That's why we've seen a number of low-scoring games, a number of ties. Kurich will slide away here with a warning. Haven't seen a card issued yet from Aubrey Kotelko. Suko, well done. Somehow came away with it. Now flicks it around. Good idea. Enriquez coming around the side. As Toronto has struggled to break down low blocks, Mike Munoz wants the likes of Yates, Carlini, Petrasso, Franklin to be quick and incisive. Those are the few names he threw out as his players that are most talented and quickest in tight spaces to help play through, over, or around a low block. And I say over because the goal of the month, last month, was a brilliant goal they combined for against Richmond, in which it was chipped over the top of a defender in the box. Those are the guys to turn to when the game is this compact. And this Toronto squad really felt they should have had points in their last game out against Omaha. Wanted to go on the road and prove they had what it takes against the #1 overall seed. Would have been a big statement to earn some points. They had it 1-1, but they let it slip late. Overall, still happy with the performance, and it gave them the confidence that they can go on the road against a team like that and play with them very well, showing they belong. Altabelli picks up a yellow card, or rather McLaughlin. Never want to see a referee start counting up fouls, and it's an accumulation yellow card there for McLaughlin. Mike Munoz doesn't want his club looking at the standings too much right now. He said as it gets closer to the end of the season, you got to look at it. You got to know what's at stake. But right now, doesn't want them seeing their name in 11th place and getting down on themselves, because all you have to do is win one game, and it changes things as Leonard is called for the foul. And they win this game, they're back above that playoff line. Their goal is to begin each month above the playoff line. They've done that so far. They have a couple of opportunities here at the end of September in order to begin October above the playoff line. If you begin each month above the playoff line, you're in the playoffs. Briano's had to come up with one stop. Patterson Sewell as well. Here's Petrasso. Poor ball in. Not much that Carlini could do with it, but he does well to turn around and get it back to Petrasso and restart the attack. McLaughlin checks deep, and he's forced all the way back by Tobin. Now Maples. Campbell back for Maples. Now Franklin earns a throw. Half an hour gone. Joe Malfa here with you on ESPN+. Toronto and Madison meeting for the second time this season. Toronto with a win would go to 6th place and bump Madison below the playoff line. But a lot will change by the end of the weekend. Still 5 more games to come. Foul goes against Leonard. You can see this Madison team is missing the reigning player of the month, Aaron Malloy, in the center of the park. Does so much defensively and offensively as the conduit between the top line and the back line. Nice move by Petrasso, creating space on the flank. Gets a cross in. Everything was there but the cross itself. Yates out for Maples. Maples getting really far up the field for one of the center backs in this 3-5-2 for Toronto. Surprised to see how aggressive he's been offensively. But with the way Toronto has dictated the tempo, he has that freedom, and now they have a free kick in a dangerous spot. This is prime real estate for a left-footed strike from Luca Petrasso, who I imagine will be coming over to take this one. Zuko took down Franklin from behind. Altabelli, Petrasso, Carlini are there. Looks like Carlini is the odd man out. Petrasso or Altabelli? Altabelli puts a cross in. That may be not the best decision there from Toronto. That is prime spot for a shot. They go for the cross and couldn't even get it into a dangerous area. Nice ball by Campbell. Yates. Long run to keep it in. Petrasso does for the moment. Took one extra touch and put it out. That takes us into the hydro break here in the first half. Toronto would have fancied a better chance right before the hydro break on that free kick. A chance for Mike Munoz to have a word with his club from what he saw in the first 30 minutes. Possession going their way, 60-40. Look at the upcoming schedule for Toronto. They go on the road, as I mentioned, to Richmond, before 2 more at home against North Carolina and New England. 2 big chances to pick up points there. North Carolina at the bottom of the table right now. New England, a team that Toronto has played well against, despite coming away with 2 losses in those games. Both times they were the better of the teams. New England came away with fortunate goals on some lucky bounces. Tough one on the road against Chattanooga, though, before coming back home against Fort Lauderdale. Carl Craig, one of the liveliest personalities among the coaches in USL League One. He wants this club to fight today. And they're going to need some points any way they can get them today, and then at home against Greenville. A daunting 5-game road trip coming up after Greenville. You see the first 4 of those 5 there. New England, Richmond, New England again, and Richmond again. Deja vu back-to-back there for Madison. A team with one of the best home field advantages in the league with the crowd they have at Breeze Stevens. It's going to be tough going on the road for much of October, but they do end with 2 at home. And with everything on the line, all cards on the table, the last 2 weekends of October, not a bad spot to be in with 2 home games to make up for 5 on the road. 305 minutes of play so far on this field. And so far, just 1 goal still from the run of play. We've seen a penalty scored by Richmond. We saw an own goal scored by Richmond. And then a pair of 0-0 draws when Toronto faced Greenville and Chattanooga. McLaughlin holding up play, fighting through the white jerseys, and he comes away with it on the other side. Petrasso. McLaughlin continues the overlap. Back for Campbell. Maples. Forward for Carlini. Rather Altabelli. Great ball into space for Petrasso. And they go. Petrasso looking to get around Gebhard to the end line. Needed a better ball at the last. Altabelli cuts in. It falls for him. Altabelli tried to curl it with the outside of the boot. Toronto has looked promising with the quick passes around the box. They just haven't had the last piece of the puzzle. It's been the story of the season for Toronto as they face teams that have sat in a low block. Mike Munoz, again, believes if they get the first, the second and the third will come because it forces the opposition to open up a little bit. But easier said than done, even getting the first. A little too eager. Noah Fuson. Patterson Sewell, a veteran, directing things from the back. Spent last year with Nashville SC and MLS while serving as one of the league's pool goalkeepers. Now as one of a couple of hybrid goalkeeper coaches / starting goalkeepers in League One this season. Kira Fitzgerald, the other for Richmond. Second yellow card of the match has been issued. The first went to Garrett McLaughlin, and this one went to Ryan Zerakowski. A lot of the body caught there by Zerakowski, who still has the best chance of this game either side. Was open in the box for the left-footed strike. That was saved by Patterson Sewell. Zerakowski, 2 goals in 3 matches since joining from New England. Had a couple of goals for New England in the first half of the season. Spent last year with Real Monarchs in USL Championship. Best season for Zerakowski came back in 2019, and Madison is hoping he continues or refines that form. He had 8 goals in 23 starts with Portland Timbers too. And for Zerakowski, it was just a mutual parting of the ways with New England. All 3 parties involved saw this as a win-win-win. New England saw it as a great chance for him to get more minutes as he was stuck behind a couple of guys on that roster. Madison was in need of a player to fill that role. And Zerakowski wanted the minutes, wanted a chance to show what he can do. So a win for all parties involved. And he's shown up in a big way with 2 goals in 3 matches so far for Madison. mentioned that 2019 season for Ryan Zerakowski. That came on the heels of a very strong 2018 collegiately with Michigan State. 8 goals, 5 assists as a senior on a team that went all the way to the College Cup. Franklin turns the corner on Allen, puts a good cross in, dangerously headed across. Brino is there, and Carlini can't believe he didn't finish it. Busan, Perez, Madison has some space. Player down is Yates for Toronto. The strike from distance. What a turn of events for forward Madison. A stop on the other end for Brino, a goal on the other end, and the Flamingos have the lead. And who else? It's Ryan Zerakowski with his 3rd in 4 matches. Here's the other end. Franklin, great ball in. Not the best header, right into the hands of Brino. Zerakowski was given space. He took the space, put the laces through it, and beat Patterson Sewell. Out for a corner the other way for Toronto. Chance for Toronto to respond quickly. Altabelli, back, Franklin puts it in. Here's Franklin again. Cross to the top of the 6. Tobin got to head to it. Given away by Enriquez. Here's McLaughlin. Plays for Campbell. He goes down and a penalty is given. Oh, that's stunning. That is a very questionable decision, but Toronto will take it. Another look here. Wow. Incredibly unlucky forward Madison. Aubrey Kotelko not making any friends in the state of Wisconsin after that call. But you take what you can get for Toronto, a team that has struggled to score goals at home. It's Garrett McLaughlin at the spot. He's been stuck on 8 goals for a long time. McLaughlin against Brino. Ryan Zerakowski scored at the other end just a few moments ago. Campbell draws the penalty, and McLaughlin will look to convert it. It's McLaughlin against Brino. It's 1-0 Madison. It's saved by Brino. Ball don't lie. Yates back across and cleared away by Madison. Here's Petrasso, and Gebhard cuts him off very well. The soccer gods sometimes work in mysterious ways. The penalty call, here's another look at it, questionable at best. And then Brino makes the big stop on McLaughlin, who continues this swoon. 8 goals early in the season. And it's been quite some time since he has found the back of the net. And a golden opportunity there from the mark, but could not convert. Another chance here. It's Perez. Can Madison go up 2-0? Right before the half as well. Good ball served in towards Zerakowski, and desperation header away from Kuric. Corner swung in at the back post. There was a chance there for Cyrus Rad. 2 minutes of added time here in the first half. The USL's elite pre-professional platform, USL Academy, allows clubs to build a pathway to pro soccer by bringing together top local youth talent and helping players transition to their USL senior teams. For more info, visit usl-academy.com. Suko. Madison content to just ride out the rest of this half. On the road, just 14 players available, missing a number of key starters. But Ryan Zerakowski, the gift that keeps on giving for Madison, coming over recently from New England, his third goal now in 3.5 games. Perez, Gebhard, shot is blocked. A win could put Madison as high as 4th place at weekend's end. Suko is turned away, and at halftime it's 1-0 Madison. The goal from Zerakowski, the penalty stop from Barino on Garrett McLaughlin has us where we are right now. Not a lot of action in the first 40 minutes. The last 5 made up for it with the goal from Zerakowski in the 41st, and then the penalty stop on McLaughlin. It's a 1-0 lead for the visiting Flamingos here at the half, north of the border on BMO Training Ground. It's a big game for both in the playoff race. Madison is staring down the barrel of 6 of their last 9 on the road. Toronto has 5 of 7 at home, but the first of those home games not going so well right now for the Young Reds. They have to battle back on their own turf. It's 1-0 Madison. 45 gone, 45 to go in this one between Toronto and Madison, and there's a big weekend coming up here in USL League One for the second weekend in a row. All 12 teams in action. We'll preview some of what is to come. We begin with New England and Richmond. That is the next matchup. That's this evening at 7 p.m. It's a home game for New England. Implications there: a New England win moves them to 5th. Richmond win moves them to 6th. A tie would keep both below the playoff line. This season, Richmond is 2-0-1 against New England. They have an overall lead of 3-1-1 in this series all time going back to last year. Richmond's 2-0 in New England, but they're 1-6-2 on the road in their last 9 overall, and you could expect goals in this one, 12 in the 3 games played so far. Good news for Richmond. The man who you continue to see scoring there, Edward Kizza, may not be in the mix for New England. TBD later on. He spent a lot of time in MLS recently. After that, we've got Greenville and Tucson. Whoever wins this goes to 3rd. A tie would keep Greenville in 3rd and keep Tucson in 4th. It's a tight series overall, 2-2-1 all time, with Greenville famously eliminating Tucson on the last day of the 2019 season. Tucson won 2-1 back on August 28th. They went from 11th place on August 16th to now 4th place, just 1 point back of Greenville. And Greenville went from July 4th to September 3rd without a win, but 2 in a row has them back in 3rd place as these teams jockey for position atop the standings, 3rd and 4th place, trying to get that home playoff game in the first round. North Texas and Union Omaha, these teams played with a lot of ties. They've only ever had one result in which one of the teams won. That came in their first ever meeting back on August 1st of 2020, a 1-0 Omaha win. Since then, 3 draws, and we've had 3 different scorelines: 0-0, 1-1, 2-2. So we don't know what to expect this time around between North Texas and Omaha. This North Texas squad is in a bad way right now. They had 4 straight draws before losses in the last 2. Omaha, on the other hand, solidifying their spot at the top. They like the big field. We'll see if they can get out and run. Omaha is going to be in 1st regardless. North Texas would be in 5th with a win and in 6th with a draw. And then we end with Fort Lauderdale and South Georgia Tormenta. Road team has won 4 straight in this series all time. Fort Lauderdale won 4-2 last time and 1-0 the first time in their previous 2 meetings this season, both of those in South Georgia. They meet Sunday and October 10th in Fort Lauderdale. 5 left for Tormenta. They're sitting in 5th place right now, but since they're going to enter the clubhouse very early compared to the other teams, they need to start building that cushion now. Very few opportunities remaining for them. They go to 3rd with a win. Fort Lauderdale goes to 5th with a win. A draw's not bad for either side. Tormenta would go to 4th. Fort Lauderdale would go to 6th, both above the playoff line. And we're back for the conclusion of Madison and Toronto in just a few moments here on ESPN+.
I am a first-generation student here at Bellevue University. I feel like if I were to have gone to a different university, my experience would have been a lot more stressful and overwhelming, because I feel like I wouldn't have gotten that personal experience that Bellevue University has to offer.
Tees it up, what a strike, and what a goal! Hartford has a goal! His right-footed shot, and it's in! Knocked away. Looking for Para, could fall for an opportunity here, the shot comes in! Oh, it's brilliant!
I did get an interesting text from someone in the Phoenix organization talking about how big and physical that game was, and maybe they didn't necessarily know it was going to be just like that. I think they got a good taste. By the way, in case you're wondering, Forrest Lasso is competing for the Summer Olympics in gymnastics. Just wanted you to know. What you
So
got
is
next?
Lee Cohen. He was part of that routine.
Bring it to me.
Forrest Lasso, the defender of the year, leaping over the ad boards and pirouetting his way toward the dugout.
A view of the six here in Toronto on a Friday afternoon. They're down a goal against forward Madison, scored by Ryan Zerakowski late on in half number one before the penalty save by Phil Brino to keep that scoreline where it was. We take a look around USL League One with some news and notes. Plenty going on here down the stretch. Player of the month is Aaron Malloy, and Madison is missing him in a big way today, but they still have the lead. He's been terrific offensively and defensively in the center of the park for the Mingos. The home team won all 7 League One matches, the most in a week in league history. That is impressive, especially considering the amount of draws we've seen around the league this year. I think the most impressive part, forget about the home team being the winners there, is the fact that we've had winners in all of those games. Again, considering just the volume of draws we had. And Nazmi Al-Badawi, what a way to go out. His final match before retirement, scores twice, and he is the player of the week. Does not get much better than that. And the USL has had its impact on World Cup qualifying already. A number of alumni in the lineup for the U.S. men's national team and other national teams as well. All the players pictured here have been big-time players. Matt Turner, technically not a League One alum, but kind of is. He played for the Richmond Kickers, now part of League One, so he's the big one there for League One fans. And they did a terrific job earning 5 points to the U.S., and the next window begins in a couple of weeks. We expect to see a lot of those players once again in a U.S. men's national team uniform and in other uniforms across CONCACAF. And we'll be back for the last 45 of our game in just a moment here on a beautiful day in Toronto, Ontario. It's a big one in the playoff race. Madison looking to stay above that playoff line and climb as high as 4th. Toronto a chance to go from 11th to 6th, and it's all decided in the next 45 minutes. Back in Toronto, moments away from kick in half number 2. And with that, we'll take a look at highlights from half number 1 to see how Madison earned that 1-0 lead over the home side. There was not much to talk about in the first half hour or so. A couple of chances here or there. The player who looked lively on the one side for Madison was Ryan Zerakowski. He would be rewarded later on. On the flip side, Altabelli did a lot in the build-up for Toronto in terms of distribution and this shot that was just wide of Phil Brino. 20th minute. We go ahead then at the other side. Ryan Zerakowski wasn't really sure if he was on or off here. The flag stayed down and almost caught him by surprise on his weaker left foot. And it was stopped by Caleb Patterson-Sewell. We'll hear more from him shortly. Came into the game with 2 goals in 3 matches since joining Madison. This was quite the sequence in the 41st minute. Franklin around the corner, had a chance here, fed it into Carlini, who headed it softly right into the path of Phil Brino. And then look at the counter from Madison. A quick rollout to Suko. Slowed it down from there. Around the corner came Christian Enriquez. And then the ball found its way out to Ryan Zerakowski, courtesy of Jesus Perez. It's an easy assist in the book for Jesus Perez because Zerakowski did all the work from that far out. Hit it to the far post, past Caleb Patterson-Sewell to give his squad the lead. 44th minute, very questionable penalty decision as Campbell went down. I'm not sure still who it was called against, whether Gebhardt or Leonard. And then McLaughlin has it stopped by Phil Brino. So in the end, this game is probably where it should be, and that's 1-0 Madison. Another look here as McLaughlin continues to struggle. 8 goals all came early in the season. It's been a long while since he found success, and Brino kept it out this time. Stats from the first half, pretty even all around. 6 shots, 3 on target, 5 shots, 2 on target. Possession, 56-44. And all that matters is Madison got the goal because now it's going to allow them in the second half to sit back if they so choose. This Toronto team has really struggled breaking down low blocks of opposing teams. And now, with the 1-goal lead on the road, limited resources, just 14 total players available in this one. So you take away the backup keeper, that makes just 12 overall outfield players for Madison. They are going to do all they can to hang on to this one. And it's going to be tough sledding from here on out for Toronto. Antonio Carlini, Stephen Yates will be on their way out of this one. 2 subs made at the half for Toronto. Into the match, Kosi Thompson and Paul Rothrock. Underway in half number 2. Toronto from right to left in the reds, and Madison from left to right in the white with the pink trim. That still leaves 3 substitution windows for Toronto with 3 subs to make. And of course Madison, all 5 subs, all 3 windows available. Granted, they don't have 5 players on the bench, so you know they will not be using all their subs tonight. That's the man right there who is probably the most important player in the second half for forward Madison. Connor Tobin anchoring that back line. A veteran, 34 years of age. He needs to step up in a big way and lead from the back here. He's the lifeblood, heart and soul of this team. He's going to have to will them over the finish line. The legs may get tired without the subs. The stakes are very high. You turn to your leaders in a situation like this to get you the results you need in a tight playoff race. Allen to Perez. Now Enriquez. Kosi Thompson and Paul Rothrock give this team a different attacking dynamic here as Carlini and Yates exit the match. Rothrock and Thompson more likely to go directly at the back lines of the opposition. Takedown here of by Curich of Zerakowski. And considering the call we saw in the first half, that is surprising that one goes uncalled. Or Madison has to be very unhappy and unlucky so far. Carl Craig out of the chair to argue that one. Pops back down, and he certainly had an argument. We'll take another look at that one when we get a chance. Leonard turns past Rothrock. Those 2 players, Rothrock and Thompson, a little bit more direct than Carlini and Yates, who came out of the match. Space for Altabelli. Aubrey Kotelko jogging over to Carl Craig. Carl Craig joining the club. Every single road coach so far has picked up a yellow card here in Toronto. Another look here at that last one. Curich, fistful of jersey, got the leg in there as well. And Toronto has to be very lucky to still be playing with 11 men. Rothrock battling for it, wins it. Finds Thompson. Thompson cuts, shoots, and it's just wide. Took a deflection. Corner coming for Toronto. Franklin curls it in on the corner. Tobin got a head to it. It's still alive. And now cleared away. Altabelli. You see Carlini at the bottom of the screen with his arms raised, calling for it. There was a last-minute change, and what that second substitution was for Toronto. Carlini does stay in. It's Luca Petrasso who exited the match. Fuson. And a yellow. No call. Here's Gebhard. Tobin takes the space. Plays it forward. Zerakowski flicks it on. And he was fouled heavily. Carl Craig has a yellow. And to be fair, you can't argue with Carl Craig right now. He has a case. This has been quite the last 10 minutes of gameplay of officiating, to say the least. Aubrey Kotelko has lost control of this game in a big way. I believe an assistant coach got a yellow here. Carl Craig had one already. Now an assistant picked one up. Very, very late call from Kotelko. I think one of the assistants alerted him to it. Hard to fault the bench of Madison with Carl Craig picking up a yellow and an assistant picking up a yellow. Certainly gripes to be had with the way the last 10 minutes of gameplay have been officiated on all grounds. But now Carl Craig will have to be careful, as will his assistants.
No, Ryan.
Leonard heads it along. Fuson comes back for it. Lays it inside, looking for Perez. And a foul goes against Jesus Perez. Kurich over the top. That's too far out in front of Thompson. One thing you could say about Toronto, for each of their home games, they've dominated the second half in terms of possession as they adjust on their home turf. More familiar with the way it plays, the way the bounces play, the way the passes need to be weighted. Each of the second halves, they've averaged right around 70% of second half possession. They'll need to try and control the tempo here because fighting a losing battle right now, down a goal against Madison, and this Flamingo squad is invigorated by that late goal and by that penalty save late in the first half. A goal from Zerakowski, the save from Brino. And has breathed life into a club that only has 14 players on this trip. Brino pressured by Rothrock, but gets it out of harm's way. Cyrus Rad. Here's Paulitz. McLaughlin lays it off. Rothrock. Out for Thompson. Now Campbell. Threads it inside for Rothrock. Carlini screaming for it, gets it. Plenty of work around the box, but they haven't found that incisive ball. Rothrock trying to find it here in the box. Paul Rothrock, the shot is saved by Phil Brino. Three saves now for Brino, including the one from the penalty mark. Positive early returns from Paul Rothrock subbing in at the half. He has sparked a couple of attacks so far. Franklin able to dance by a defender, but well won and kept in by Rad. Played back. McLaughlin nearly stepped in the way of it, and Brino clears. Perez. Suko. And that one last off of Zerakowski. Nice flick by McLaughlin into the path of Thompson. But Gebhardt again does well defensively. Thrust in that right wing back role today. And he has cut off some Toronto attackers a couple of times in the box. Earl Craig, all he can do is shake his head. A lot of confusion around the officiating in this one. This will be quite the test in patience for Carl Craig. The last 35 minutes of change, factoring in stoppage time. Already on a yellow. The way the game has been officiated, it'll be a tough test for him getting the rest of the way through without picking up a second one. Rothrock, good ball in. McLaughlin a little bit slow on the crash in, and Brino comes away with it. Munoz sparking out instructions from the sideline. As we approach the hour mark, his side needs desperately to get this goal back and needs 3 points, to be honest. They're at a point in their season, Toronto, where the draws are not going to help a ton. Each game that goes by in which they pick up 1 point or no points instead of 3 takes them further and further into a hole. Everything is still rather tight in the league, but it's not as tight as it was a couple of weeks ago when we had 8 teams on either 24 or 25 points at the same time. Now Toronto still at 25. They're 3 points back of the playoff line on the live standings, which would obviously put Madison at 30 as opposed to 27 they came in with. Altabelli out to Rothrock. Carlini calling for it. So as it stands, for a Toronto team that had a chance to win and get above the playoff line today, they would be 3 points back of the playoff line after a couple of weeks they spent above it or within a point of it. Four of the remaining 6 games after today will be at home as well for Toronto, but at some point you have to start turning those into victories. They've played 3 games on this turf so far. They've come away with 5 points. Tobin shielding, Brino corralling. Mike Munoz made no bones about it. They need to pick up wins here at home. 5 games at home, he said that should be 15 points. That's maybe a little bit ambitious, but you figure at least you'd like to get a dozen points in those games here at home. Hour gone. Joe Malfa here with you at BMO Training Ground in Toronto, Ontario. Goal scored in the 41st minute by Zerakowski. That's the difference right now. And just a few moments later, Phil Brino made a penalty stop on Garrett McLaughlin to keep it a 1-0 lead. Toronto in 11th. A win would have put them in 6th to end the day. As it stands, Madison entered in 6th, and they'd be in 4th if it were to end like this. And would put some distance between Madison and Toronto. Madison would go 5 points clear, and they would have 2 games in hand. That's the big thing right now for Madison. They're above the playoff line, but they also have games in hand on most of the teams around them. The only team that has played fewer games than Forward Madison is Union Omaha, and they're clear of the pack right now in 1st place. So it does not have much of an influence on Madison. Outside of that, New England, Richmond, they've each played 20 games, but they'll play each other tonight. So at the end of the day, Madison will have games in hand on every team but Omaha. And again, for a team that's in 4th place with games in hand, you have to like the situation they're in terms of the standings. However, down the stretch here, they have 5 straight road games in October. And that will be a very tough stretch for Madison. You can see them dip a little bit. You want to build a cushion going into that stretch. Here's Rothrock. And Brino again, an easy grab. That's been the issue in this second half and really in the whole game for Toronto. They get around the box. They find the space there. But they haven't found that ball in to put Madison in a dangerous situation defensively. They haven't taken a lot of shots either to test Brino. They've taken 7. But given the opportunities they've had and the space they've had, you'd like to see some more shots put on frame. I'm sure Mike Munoz would enjoy seeing a few more shots testing Brino, even if they're from 20, 25 yards out. Get it on target. Good things happen. Zerakowski comes through with it. That was nearly disastrous at the back by Paulitz. Read it wrong. So did Patterson-Sewell. Zerakowski in disbelief with the chance he almost just had, but now the attention turns to Paulitz, who's holding his hamstring. Never want to see that. Caleb Patterson-Sewell makes the signal over to the bench for a substitution of Paulitz. That last step he took, he just pulled up. And Patterson-Sewell also serving as an assistant coach on this team, as well as the goalkeeper, makes a signal over to Mike Munoz that a sub is needed. If Ballets needs to come out, you wonder which way Mike Munoz turns. Doesn't really have a natural defender on the bench. Ovalle, Goulbourne, Antonoglou, and Prisobong. All those guys, either midfielders or attackers. And that's your telltale sign right there. And it's done for Paulitz. He shares the captain's armband, gives it to Patterson Sewell. That's a big loss here for Toronto. Paulitz has been terrific this season as the captain. He signed on May 5th, late addition to the team. Has spent time in the past with Hartford, with Greenville, with New York Red Bulls too. Paulitz still being looked at by the trainers as he goes to take a seat on the bench. That'll be the third sub used now for Toronto, with Thompson coming in for Petrasso and Rothrock coming in for Yates at the half.
Come on, Red. Come on, Red. Come on, Red.
Rohan Goulbourne enters the match for Kevin Paulitz.
Substitution for CSC in the 65th minute. Leaving the game is number 64, Kevin Paulitz. He's replaced by number 62, Rohan Goulbourne.
First defensive test for Rohan Goulbourne. And he passes it as Zerakowski comes over the top. Goulbourne's mostly been used as a midfielder. But again, with a lot of the depth not there for Toronto on the back line, they've relied on the MLS loanees mostly on the back line. The likes of Singh and Dunn have come in to provide that depth. They come in as starters, and it sends Paulitz and Courage to the bench to provide that depth. But no loanees from the MLS side for this game. Courage will have to slide in as the central defender in this three-back set, with Goulbourne as the left of the three. And on the right side, you still have Talon Maples. This Toronto team right now just looking like it's out of ideas. Frustrated a bit. Teams have come here to this field and just sat in a low block against them. Mostly born out of necessity because of the limited resources teams have entered with as a result of the local ordinances that force teams to leave a lot of players behind. So what you think might be an advantage for Toronto, as some teams have had to leave some of their top players behind, some regular starters behind, it's turned into a disadvantage because if teams have come in and just sat back, tried to counter, and it makes life difficult for a Toronto team that does its best attacking work when there is space in behind to send the likes of McLaughlin on runs. That's part of the reason McLaughlin hasn't scored in a while. Teams have noticed this. They've sat in low blocks, especially on this field. And after getting that goal, and what a strike it was from Zerakowski back in the 41st minute, you just multiply that out even more so in terms of the defensive mindset then. Flicked on by Zerakowski towards Fuson. You multiply out that defensive mindset with a goal lead already. If you're Madison right now, you've got 3 points in hand. If you can see this over 23 more minutes plus stoppage time, and you figure your worst case scenario is you're leaving with 1 point. So the frustration will continue to mount for Toronto the longer this goes without them finding that goal. Maples clips one over the top. Good ball towards McLaughlin. McLaughlin Had trouble keeping it in, and now he's pulled up with an injury. Campbell. Carlini. McLaughlin gingerly jogging back into the play. Carlini inside, Altobelli turning, shooting. And puts it into the protective netting behind the goal. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source of soccer radio, featuring Ray Hudson, Tony Meola, Rodney Marsh, and USL All Access with Mike Watts and Devin Kerr every Tuesday at 7 Eastern. You can also hear live action from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more, all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the Sirius XM app. Rothrock. Well defended by Cyrus Rad. Rothrock again. Around the corner, it's Thompson. Gebhard defending. Thompson puts it in front. Just a step too slow. Carlini was there crashing. Campbell wins it back, keeps it in. Thompson. Campbell. Carlini. Now Altobelli with some space. Altobelli out wide for Franklin. This is a nice build for Toronto. Franklin puts it back. Campbell a long run in. He gets it by the first defender, but Tobin is there to clean it up. Goldberg overran it on the chest. Zerakowski takes it. Space is opened up now for Madison. Perez out wide for Allen. Tyler Allen still with it. Harassed by Maples. And a foul is called against Maples. This sets up Madison in a dangerous area for a free kick with 20 minutes to go. Enriquez, Perez, and Suko huddled over it. It's Perez into the wall. Madison readying a sub. It appears Michael Vang will be entering the match. No word yet on who for. Allen cuts past Franklin. He's taken down. No call that time. Altobelli plays Rothrock into space. Run coming on the left side from Carlini. Rothrock takes to space. Finds Thompson. There's a look at Michael Vang. Getting some final instructions on the sideline. Carlini to McLaughlin. Franklin, strike with the left foot, and it's over the bar. A slight touch from Brino. It's going to be a corner coming for Madison. Another look here. This is what I was calling for a few moments ago. At this point, Toronto's just got to start getting some shots on. Just put it in the area, see what Brino does with it, see if you can earn a corner just like this. Franklin curls it in. Thompson is there. Was it saved off the line? Toronto thought they might have had a goal if it was over the line there. McLaughlin was right there. He thought it was just crossed the line, but Brino made the stop. Another look at it. Close. McLaughlin was right there for a look at it. He was pleading his case, as was Thompson, that it was past the line. No call. Ball up to Fuson. Gets past Goulburn, puts a cross through, and chested back to Patterson Sewell. That's what Toronto needs right now. Just get shots in. Force Brino to make stops. That could lead to corners just like that. Their best chance of the day, that was, aside from the penalty. Right there on the corner. Flag went up for offside on Fuson. This will take us into the second half hydration break. And right now, the 1-0 lead for Madison has as much to do with Ryan Zerakowski as it does with Phil Brino and the saves he's made here in this one. There's one that came on Carlini's header, then the penalty. And the save on Carlini, mind you, it sprung the counter that then led to the Madison goal. In the second half, some easier things to deal with for Brino, just like that one there. This one was tough. The header from Thompson right there. Was it over the line? We'll never know. Thompson and McLaughlin were there to plead their case. Carl Craig, he likened this to the Alamo. Regardless of the result, people celebrate that historically because of the fight that was waged against all odds. This Madison team came in with just 14 players. That was his message all week, was remember the Alamo for this Madison club. And they have a chance to be on the winning side and to celebrate the fight. Michael Vang will be entering the match, it appears, after the hydration break. Carl Craig has under his belt one Coach of the Month honor. And now he's looking to steer his team in the final month and a half of the season into a playoff spot. As it stands right now, if they get these 3 points, they'd end the night in 4th place. A lot could change throughout the weekend based on the teams behind them and how close things are still in the standings. Tucson is a point back. Tormenta, 2 points back. So those teams could both potentially jump forward Madison. Here is that sub officially. Vang in, Enriquez out. The team's leading scorer from a year ago, Michael Vang, has not found that same form this year. Campbell through the middle. Altabelli, good ball to Franklin into space. Long run though. Did not sit the way they were hoping for it. Join USL in celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month through October 15th. Visit uslsoccer.com/Hispanic-heritage for exclusive content and stories that celebrate members of the Hispanic community that have shaped the USL. Jesus Perez put a foot in, but the bounce goes to Thompson. Carlini, McLaughlin, cut to Thompson. Takes his space into the box. Thompson cuts it back. Rothrock lays it off. Carlini is there. Carlini strikes in. It's saved again by Brino. Brino booms a punt. Kurich gets his head to it. Back for Brino. Rothrock chases, and Brino clears. Zerakowski. One hangs up a bit. Franklin underneath it. Suko wins it. Time wearing thin now for Toronto as they try to break through this low block of Madison. Here's Rothrock. They're a little bit stretched out right now, Madison. And Leonard, the desperation clearance out for a corner. Last corner nearly yielded a goal for the home side. Saved off the line by Brino. In-swinger coming from Franklin. Wind is blowing towards Brino's goal, so he might have to deal with a wicked curl in towards the goal here. Sent in, and there it was. It was curling right at Brino. With this wind here at BMO Training Ground, it's always a threat on an in-swinger down this end of the field to score directly from the corner. This one, though, an out-swinger coming from Franklin. Franklin sends it in. Tobin heads it right back out. Take two from that side. Franklin delivers, center of the box again. A lot of bodies around, and the foul goes against Kurich. Another look here. Kurich. We got an elbow in there on Zerakowski, and Tobin was on the ground as well. Sub coming from Madison. Gustavo Fernandez enters the match for the visitors. And it's Jesus Perez who exits.
Come on, son!
10 minutes to go. That's all that's standing right now between Madison and a big 3 points on the road with just 14 available players. Two of those being goalkeepers leaves you with just 12 outfield players. They've made their subs. Thompson. USL is committed to supporting the LGBTQ plus community through the Forever Proud project. The USL will strive to create safe and welcoming environments for all fans, players, employees, and partners. Learn more at uslsoccer.com/forever-proud. Madison came in last in the league in goals scored, but third in the league in goals conceded. And right now, it seems like all they may need is one if they continue to hold as strong as they have been defensively. This would be the 6th clean sheet of the year for Madison. Nicholas Ovalle will be the next man in for Toronto. He's up and ready on the sideline. Ovalle actually played for Madison last year as Toronto loaned some players out to still get minutes since they had to take a year off due to the pandemic. And Ovalle scored a couple of big goals for Madison. Ricocheted off Fernandez. He holds off Rothrock, who wanted a foul call but didn't get it. Gebhard for Zerakowski, who's in a deeper role now as he helps his team defend this one out. He already got his goal, and that right now still holding up. It came back in the 41st minute. Just a couple of moments later, McLaughlin had a chance to level on the penalty, and Brino made the save. Hugo Mbang also potentially checking in for Toronto, warming up. Ball swung in towards McLaughlin. And Gebhardt clears it out, avoiding a corner kick. Carl Craig has been reserved much of the match, sitting in his chair, aside from when he's had to get up and argue a couple of times with the referees. But now he's on his feet. He knows what's at stake as he tries to will his team through the end of this one. Have to imagine if they can hold on, it'd be the proudest he's been all season with the way his team has performed. In light of everything, the travel internationally, only 14 players, the importance of the game, and to come away with a 1-0 win. Campbell commits the foul. And a yellow card as well. Two changes on the way for Toronto, their final two. McLaughlin will exit. Mbang will enter. And Demi Antonoglou will enter as well. Julian Altabelli, the other player to exit as Antonoglou enters. So a change of the strikers for Toronto. Knotted down. Suko strikes it. Patterson Sewell leaves no rebound. Zerakowski was right there in case there was one. 5 minutes to go plus added time. It'll be up to Mbang and Antonoglou now as the strikers with Altabelli and McLaughlin out. Try and get something, but it's given away by Goulburn. Here's Zerakowski out to Vang. Can Madison put it away? Vang cuts in, and he can't get past Goulburn, who created the mess and cleaned it up. Mbang wins it past Tobin. Long way to get back now for Tobin, drawn out of his center back spot. But he gets back in time to defend this now. Cross swung in on the ground, couldn't get it past Rad. Here's Franklin. Rothrock lays it off. Here's Maples. Now Kurich. Campbell. Franklin. Madison keeping the shape, keeping Toronto around the outsides. Look at all 11 white jerseys right there. All in your picture right now. And a free kick coming for Toronto. Tough spot though for Toronto. Too far for a shot, or maybe on the outskirts of it. But too centrally to get a real good crossing. If you're Toronto, you'd like this either a couple of yards closer or a few yards to the left or to the right so you can get a better angle in for a cross. Goulburn seems like he wants a long run up, like he might shoot it. He crosses it, and there again lies the toughness of a free kick right there. No man's land in terms of a shot or a cross, probably a little too far for a shot, and no angle to get a cross in. It's too straight away. Can't really fault Goulburn there. That's a difficult task for anybody.
Hey, come on! John the man! John the man! Confidence, I love it. Take your ball! 51, you have two options, cool down or sit down. Your call.
As of now, told there'll be 4 minutes of added time at the end of this one. As it stands then, that would give Toronto 6.5 minutes overall to get this goal back. They scored in the 86th minute on the road against Madison to earn the 2-2 draw. See if they can find another late equalizer. Franklin delivers. Flicked on, stumbling was Brito. It's at the doorstep. There's the equalizer. Demi Antonoglou so well defended for 88 minutes for Madison, but a stumble by Brino, and it undoes 88 minutes of work. It's 1-1 at BMO Training Ground. Good ball in from Franklin. He's steered towards frame by Maples. Brino stumbled out of the blocks there as he tried to retrieve it. Right there he stumbles, and it's an easy put away for Antonoglou. Third goal of the season for Themi Antonoglou. And now this changes things here in the final few minutes. Toronto seem lifeless, and now they have some.
By number 81, Themi Antonoglou.
Yellow card was issued. Oh, Fuson, the recipient. Bang. Slides it inside. Hernandez out to Suko in space. 90th minute now. Suko is looking for Zerakowski. It falls here for Vang. Looking to get a shot off. Tucks it inside for Zerakowski. And Kurich pokes it away. Rothrock looking to run on the end of this one. Poorly weighted pass back from Leonard, but Tobin able to clear after the goal. That came off the free kick for Toronto. That added an extra minute to stoppage time. There'll be 5 minutes now instead of 4. So 5 remaining.
The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 5 minutes of time added to the second half.
Knotted down by Tobin. Leonard clears. Here's Thompson. Has options. Uses the wide one to Rothrock. Ball sent in to Thompson. Didn't catch it cleanly. Brino still made the stop. I mentioned right around the 70-minute mark that no matter what happens, Madison has to make sure they leave with at least a point, and that's what they got to do here. But maybe they steal 2 more back. Here's Allen on the left foot. It's blocked by Kurich. With 20 minutes to go, up a goal on the road, given the circumstances, Madison had to do whatever it took to make sure they left with at least a point. Would be gut-wrenching if they were to concede late again to Toronto. But it would certainly be euphoric if they could find another late one here and go back ahead. Suko shields the eyes, raises the right arm. Here comes the corner. It's lofted up there. Zerakowski nods it down at the back post. Tobin could only skim it along. Now a chance to counter for Toronto with all those white jerseys forward. It's Rothrock streaking down the middle is Thompson. Well-weighted ball into space by Rothrock. Rather, that's Mbang making the run. Sends it inside, backside of the box, coming through. It's saved by Brino. And nearly an own goal on the clearance attempt. Rothrock played it perfectly for Mbang. Franklin from the corner. Swings it in, back post. It was there for Kurich. I believe it came off Tobin's head, out for another corner. Taken quickly. Antonoglou swings it in, and Tobin gets rid of it. Foul by Carlini. He'll take a yellow for his efforts. Smart foul from Carlini.
85 was cautioned, and we have 2 minutes remaining.
Wynn gets a hold of that one. Foul against Rothrock. Leonard coming right back at him. Aubrey Kotelko having a chat with Rothrock. Leonard puts it in the box, flicked on by Zerakowski. Zuko got a touch to it, but it was too heavy. Tried to cut it back past the defender. A little over a minute remaining. Toronto has had the field tilted in their favor after they got the goal. Antonoglou got that goal. Now he sends it across to Goulburn. Goulburn trying to get past Gebhard. Rode all the way down, and the foul goes against Goulburn. Gebhard has had a terrific day at right wing back. Another look here. That is textbook from Gebhard. Thompson might be the last attack here for Toronto. Leonard just skies it out. Or actually, the wind kept it in. Gebhard there. Still in. Carlini. Back for Goulburn. As they go backwards here, Toronto, the whistle might blow. There it is, the final whistle at BMO Training Ground. A hard-earned point for both sides. Madison will feel like they dropped two that they could have had. And Toronto fortunate to pick up one on the late goal in the 89th minute officially for Themi Antonoglou. Still unbeaten on this field, Toronto. But only 6 points, a win and 3 draws. And at this stage of the season, wins are key. They have 4 more home games remaining. And you imagine they need to target at least 9 points out of those to get into a playoff position. We'll be back in a moment to wrap this one up from BMO Training Ground. It finishes 1-1 between Toronto and Madison. It finishes 1-1 in Toronto. Ryan Zerakowski, for the better part of an hour, felt like he had the winner. But Antonoglou, in the 89th minute, right there, celebrating, scores to make it 1-1, and that's how it finishes. A goal each to take a point each between Toronto and Madison. We take a look at the full-time highlights between the two clubs. In the early stages of the first half, there wasn't much going on. Things livened up in the 41st. Franklin at the one end Found Carlini. Needed to do better with that header, and then Brino, well done to try and quickly spring the counter. Suko slows it down, and then a few passes later, it finds Zerakowski on the right side. From distance, he put the laces through it, and he placed it perfectly to the far side, past Caleb Patterson-Sewell. And that made it 1-0 in the 41st. Another look here. Zerakowski, his third goal in 4 games since joining Madison. 44th minute. Questionable penalty call here as Campbell goes down. And then McLaughlin from the spot. Brino makes the save. That was probably the just outcome in the end after that penalty call. Another look here. McLaughlin hasn't found the back of the net in a couple of months now. 73rd minute. Great chance here on the corner. Thompson snaps down the header. Brino just did enough to keep it from crossing the line. McLaughlin was there for a look, as was Thompson. Pleading their case that that ball went in. This one certainly did. Brino stumbled there as he tried to come out to it. Antonoglou touched it by and touched it in. That made it 1-1 in the 88th minute, and that's how it would finish. Toronto pressed late in this one, looking to get the winner against all odds. Mbong took it to the end line, played it back across, and there was Franklin, but Brino made one last big save, and then the clearance attempt from Vang nearly ended up as an own goal, ends up on top of the net instead, and it finishes 1-1. Full-time stats, plenty of shots and shots on target. A lively game it turned out to be. 25 shots in all, 13 shots on target, 8 saves made by Phil Brino. That's the difference in this one as Toronto settled into their usual possession stronghold. And with that, we take a look at an update to the standings. Madison stays above the playoff line for now with 28 points. The thing that bodes well for them, they have 2 games in hand on the team below them there in Fort Lauderdale, 3 in hand on the team above them in Tormenta. So Madison in a good spot. Toronto climbs 2 spots with the draw, but New England and Richmond play each other later tonight. So one of those 2 teams may again vault Toronto. A lot's going to change by the end of the weekend and through the coming weeks as we near the end of the season. Madison and Toronto, though, still in good positions, just 2 points apart in the stretch run. We have seen some very tightly contested games at BMO Training Ground coming into the day. A pair of draws and a tight 2-1 win for Toronto. And it was no different today. Another draw, 1-1. Zerakowski in the 41st, Antonoglou in the 89th. A goal each to take a point each in Toronto today. For the broadcast crew that makes this all possible, I'm Joe Malva saying good evening from Toronto. It's 1-1 between the Young Reds and Madison.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League League One cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League League One.